Okay, it's game time. Hasta luego.
What up, it's Shankster94, and welcome to Resident Evil 6 HD Weapons Review. Now, as usual, I got a lot of stuff to say before I actually get to the review, so if you want to skip all my speech, then go to the time indicated right here. So, yet again, if you are a dedicated subscriber, then you most likely know that this is a remake of an original weapon review I had. And the reasons for remaking it remain the same as the last 4 or 5 remakes of reviews I've made. Video quality and quality of content. Now what's going to happen in this review is going to be exactly the same as the original version. I'm going to review each weapon with both a male and female if it can be, and I'm going to include the quick shot and the lay on back shot as well. And if certain weapons have unique dodge moves associated with them, I'm also going to show those. But other than that, this remake of a weapon review is going to go very similarly to the last remakes I've been doing. I'm going to add the slow-mo effect, I'm going to use my reverse effect on any explosions. That would look really cool if I used that effect. All in all, etc. So, at this point, if you've seen my last 3 or 4 videos, you pretty much get the point by now. So, I'll quit my rambling. Let's get on with Resident Evil 6 HD Weapons Review. Alright, so here are a couple changes I'm going to make between this review and the original version. In Resident Evil 6, with any character you could switch your stance between left hand and right hand. And in my original review, I showed all the weapons in both stances. Now, I'm not going to do that in this one because I realized that switching the stance does not change any animations of the weapons or reloads. It's almost like I was just putting a mirror on the screen. Nothing was changing, so it was wasting time in the original review. So I'm not going to switch stances this time when showing the weapons. Here's another thing that's changed. In the previous version, I did not have DLC, so I couldn't mention if any other character had a specific weapon. Now I do have DLC, and there is only one weapon that I can show with a different gender, thanks to the DLC, and that is the Picador handgun. Normally I could only test it with female characters, but in the DLC, peers can use the Picador, so now I can show it with 2 characters. But anyway, let's get on with the weapon review. I'm going to start with the grenades, like I did in the original version, and the first grenade, as I always start with, is the flash grenade. Oh, and by the way, this game has no descriptions for the weapons whatsoever. It's not only non-upgradable weapons this time, it's no weapons, no descriptions, anywhere. Alright, let's test the flash grenade out. Alright, so as I've been saying since Resident Evil 4, this isn't necessarily a killing weapon. It's used mainly for stunning. Once again, however, it can instantly kill Plaga parasites. There's not a lot of Plaga parasites in this game, so it'd be hard to tell when to use the flash grenade. But after testing the flash grenade, I will show a very specific enemy, which is very helpful to have a flash grenade on you. But for now, let's test the flash grenade on some Joavo. Alright, so the flash grenade, hence its name, flashes and stuns your enemies, and when it comes to regular Joavo, it opens you up for an immediate coup de grace attack. Now I'll show you a certain enemy that instantly dies when you use the flash grenade. It is the Messet. Alright, that is it for the flash grenade.
Captain!
Alright, now for the next grenade. The Incendiary Grenade. Quite a bit of flame there. Alright, let's test the Incendiary Grenade on some zombies. Zombies are very weak against Incendiary Grenades. Alright, so yeah, of course the Incendiary Grenade burns your enemies. Now, another enemy the Incendiary Grenade really is effective for is the Bloodshot. It's like an enhanced zombie. Not only does the Incendiary Grenade defeat Bloodshots, but it also defeats zombies who are destined to become Bloodshots. The Crimson Head zombies, really. So I will show you that very effect. Alright, that is it for the Incendiary Grenade. Now for the last grenade, the Hand Grenade. Alright, good for crowd control. Let's test on a crowd of Joavo. Ha! Alright, so the hand grenade has not changed its use. Good for crowd control, clearing groups, and good for killing enemies who are behind cover. Alright, that is it for the hand grenade. Now for the next weapon, the remote bomb. Now, this replaces the proximity bomb from Resident Evil 5. Now you could set it off by remote control instead of either having to shoot it or wait for an enemy to come near it. This is a very handy device. The proximity bomb was good for an explosive trap. This is also used for that purpose, just way more efficiently. You explode it when you want to. So let's check it out. Alright, so just like the proximity bomb, the remote bomb has quite an explosion. In my original review, I failed to show that sliding animation. When you have the remote bomb, if you do the slide, you place it down automatically. If you want to plant a remote bomb in the midst of enemies, it's a good way to not get hurt while doing it. Anyway, now let's test the remote bomb on a group of zombies. Blood and guts. Okay, I think the remote bomb is much more handy than the proximity bomb in Resident Evil 5. However, proximity bomb in Resident Evil 5 might be more powerful than the remote bomb in Resident Evil 6. But either way, it's a good weapon to use to lay an explosive trap. It can defeat a lot of enemies. And it can be used for a lot of much more powerful enemies. Specifically like the Whopper and the Lipotitsa. Those two enemies are very good enemies to use the remote bomb on. Alright, that is it for the remote bomb, as well as all those grenade-type weapons. Alright, now for the knives. The first one is the survival knife. Now in campaign, Leon Kennedy is the only person who could use the survival knife. However, in other modes, Jake and Agent can use the survival knife. So no females can use the survival knife, unfortunately. But anyway, let's test it out. Alright, in my original version, I did not show that stabbing motion, because I didn't know about it. It was thanks to a certain YouTuber who pointed out in my Melee Move review that there was an extra animation with the knives. Now, if you've seen that Melee Move review, then you've already seen everything that this knife can do. But I'm still gonna test it out on an enemy, because this is a weapon review. And also, I will show the Melee Move change you get when you have the knife equipped. Alright, let's test the knife on a Joavo. By the way, just like in my original version, All weapons from the knives onwards will be tested on Joavo, because zombies are very fragile. They develop holes if you shoot them too much. But Joavo stay solid, and they don't move around quite as much as zombies when they're shot. So, I'm going to test the knife on a Joavo. Alright, so it could probably take 4 to 6 slashes or stabs with the knife to take down a Joavo. And before starting this review, I tested every single animation of the knife out to see if it would cause a damage difference. It really doesn't do that much difference. Although, when I did the stabbing instead of the slashing, it took only 5 instead of 6. So, it might, but to do the stabbing, you have to go backwards and press the trigger at the same time, so it's a little harder to do. And the other thing, the quickshot, it takes some stamina. So, there's basic testing of the knife. I would say 4 to 6 slashes. Now I'll show you the melee move you can do with the knife. Alright, that is it for the survival knife. Alright, now for the next and last knife. The combat knife. Now only Chris Redfield can use this. No one else can use the combat knife. So let's test it out. Alright, so you can do a lot more stuff with Chris's combat knife over Leon's survival knife. The combat knife changes more than one of your melee moves. I'll show all of them after the initial testing. For now, let's just regularly test it on a Joavo. Alright, so another 4 to 6 slashes to take down a standard Joavo. Now, I forgot to mention this. The reason why I'm testing in Mercenaries is because in campaign, all the weapons are scattered about, and I would have to keep switching campaigns and everything to test all the weapons, and I would have to go to several different places to have an appropriate enemy, and have to go through some of them to get to that location. So in Mercenaries, it's just so much easier. And Mercenaries is pretty default when it comes to difficulty, so that's always good to know. And once again, if you think I'm not specific enough in this review, you could always use a formula that I came up with. Whatever amount of shots that it takes to initially defeat the enemy that I chose in the review, add and subtract that number of shots by 5. And that should span across the entire game, regardless of game mode and difficulty, when it comes to that enemy specifically. I can't say for other enemies. You can multiply it by 5 when it comes to some enemies. Alright, so back to the review. It seems the combat knife doesn't have much of a damage difference than the survival knife. But that's just regular slashing. The combat knife is still a better knife, and I will show you why right now. Alright. So yeah, you can do a lot more with the combat knife, dodging melee moves or regular slashes alike. It's just so much more efficient than the survival knife. Alright, that is it for the combat knife, as well as all the knives. Alright, now for the next weapon, which is also the last handheld weapon, the stun rod. Now, in campaign, only Sherry can use this, but in DLC modes, Helena could use the stun rod as well. So let's test the stun rod out. Alright, so that charge shot, all it really does is it definitely decreases the amount of time it would take to defeat an enemy. It's a very useful thing to do. But I'm going to test it normally without this charge on a Joavo. Alright, so the stun rod is very similar in damage to the knives. It always took between 4 and 6 shocks of the stun rod. However, a couple times it did go over 6. I saw a couple 7s and 8s there. But the point is, the best way to use this thing is to hit once and get that charge attack, because it hits them multiple times in one hit. So it'll really lower the time it takes to defeat enemies. Now before I end the stun rod, it too has its own melee move that replaces the ground move. Alright, Sherry. That is it for the stun rod, and that is it for all melee weapons.